Hey, we're finally back with this FPS game. At this rate, I might as well just make one devlog a year, starting with the classic sign back into Unity after forgetting my password. It really has been a long time. Unity Hub has an update. Fancy. The Unity editor has an update. Just gonna skip the 2023 versions, I guess. Install is finished, so let's load up the project. Sure. I forgot how long it takes for Unity projects to open.
Deploying flashbang.
Honestly, I was expecting more pop-ups. It's good to be back. I missed this game. Last time we ended things off with creating crouching and bullet jumping. Although when you consecutively bullet jump, crouching does break the flow a little, so we can make use of a nice suggestion, a slide mechanic. Looking at code that hasn't been open in a whole year is always hard to understand, especially when it's bad code. I ended up whipping out Desmos for our favourite school subject, math, and now you can slide around in any direction. I made it use the same button as crouch, so high speeds transitions into slides and eventually becomes crouching when slowed down. It's a really satisfying addition to the game, and you can get some pretty cool clips sliding around everywhere, and you can spam it too. Well, until sticky keys ruins the fun. I realised that until now I've been recording on a lower resolution, but graphics should look a tiny bit better going forward. Back to sliding, the code's transition between states originally used a lerp, but I also tried out a smooth dump since it has smooth in the name. I ended up with this, which doesn't seem any different to how it was before. I even had to fix issues like the player floating away as soon as they spawn in. All for no difference. I didn't realise how small the player is until I found you can slide underneath targets. You can also slide around sharp corners, which may not be very realistic, but it could be an interesting mechanic, so let's just say it's intentional. Speaking of corners, the camera needs a bit of fine tuning to fix the jitter around edges at certain frame rates. Apparently Cinemachine can fix this, so I started setting it up, and I got as far as creating a Cinemachine camera before realising I would have to redo all of the camera code from scratch, so I gave up very quickly. I mean, it was already hard enough trying to figure out which camera to create in the first place since the documentation I was using was outdated. I promise things get a bit more productive from here. Going back to the theme of movement, I wanted to add a visual effect for providing a better sense of speed, so I set up a particle system that activates when a player is moving at high speeds. For example, bullet jumping. The particles looked so much better as soon as I turned on the line render option for each particle. Didn't even need to create a speed line sprite. Now it's time to test it out. Well, after I assign it to the game object. And now it's working, with some minor adjustments like using vector3.project to remove the effect for wall jumps since the visual forward momentum doesn't quite match up to the sideways jumps. In return, wall running will get its own feature, in the form of a camera lean. That's right, adding more work for myself when I finally reworked the camera system. It took me a solid minute to realise what was wrong with this lean. At least it's an easy fix to flip the leaning direction. Much better. When combined with the slides and bullet jumps, the movement actually starts to feel quite satisfying. Wait, what was that? Oh, just the shadow. I also discovered a fun bug where you can bullet jump backwards, and somehow the player travels further than forward bullet jumps. Sometimes it can look pretty cool, plus it's funny, so I'm keeping that in. Bugs that I'm definitely not keeping are when the player does a little bounce when trying to slide, and backstepping off a ledge. It's certainly a lot easier to debug in third person. Turns out both these issues are caused by wall climbing conditions. For the backstep off a ledge, I made it so an upward boost when climbing only applies when moving forwards, but for the bounces when sliding, it required a deeper look. This red debugging ray is how the player checks that they can climb. When standing on a block, the ray actually goes underneath the ground. Can you see it? What do you mean no? Okay, I'll show you a useful technique called copy and paste. Can you see it now? The play center wasn't handled properly when changing heights, such as crouching and sliding. This is how it should have been. A classic case where debugging takes longer than the fix itself. And with the bug sorted, continuously bullet jumping across towers is much more consistent now. Definitely didn't spend 5 minutes trying to grab this clip without missing a jump. Unity Hub already has a new update. Anyways, time for a new game mode. First, let's create a new scene. Now, how do I do this again? It's been a year since I've done this. Ah, there it is. And inside of the scene, I create a plane as a base, but instead of placing blocks like Minecraft, this time I want to make use of another Unity package, which is ProBuilder. So I installed it, and created my first ProBuilder object, which was a door. Where is it? Oh, down there. Just gotta bring that up, and we have our first shape, although it's missing a few sides. It also took me 10 minutes to figure out how to switch between moving a single face versus moving the whole object. But now let's give it a test. So I might have misplaced the spawn point. Now that you can actually stand on the ground, it really is blinding my eyes, and the door is too small. At least I found how to fix the missing sides on the door. Just select the edges and click bridge. Pretty simple once you get used to it. Oh, why is this not working now? Eventually I fixed the door, but the next problem is that the player is way too fast and jumps way too high. I forgot how large the levels were in the other modes. I adjusted the movement for this mode and set up the first parkour jump. Should be nice and easy. Slight overjump. But let's try that again. Okay, nice on me. It also appears that the restart button isn't working, so I just have to accept my failure while falling into the endless void. Turns out the UI was missing an event system to register user inputs, so I copied one over from another scene, and that should now work. Or not. Wait, I've seen this one before. Okay, one more try. Hit restart, and it actually works. Now let's build a level. I should probably explain what this campaign mode will be. Oh, by the way, the new game mode will be a campaign mode. The plan is a series of levels combining parkour and shooting targets. For level 1, I'm keeping it simple, only introducing wall running instead of overwhelming the player with slides and bullet jumps all at once. Those can be levels 2 and 3. As for creating the level of Crow Builder, it was certainly an experience. Did you know that you can create vertices, edges and faces? Did you also know that out of those 3, only faces can be deleted after being created? For example, if you create a new vertex, you can't delete it. Is that normal? At least my 5-sided squares still look like squares, so that's good enough for me. Anyways, after putting together a basic level, I gave it a test run. Oh, you can just skip the whole level here. Let's just pretend I didn't see that. And now I've lost the next target. There it is. Forgot about that Easter egg, pretty cool. The initial run revealed several issues, like the player being unable to walk up a staircase without jumping, as well as the obviously bright terrain that makes it hard to see. Let's start with the colours. Before we had white, and now we have black and white. I know, so colourful. At least there's a yellow door too. One design feature I did add was allowing the players to climb white walls, but not black walls, mainly so you can't climb over the main wall and skip a level. I also fixed the issue with climbing stairs by messing with the character slope limit. If you want, you can bullet jump up the stairs. I wonder what happens with backwards bullet jumps. Yeah, I'm keeping that in. I'm sure the speedrunners will love it. Before continuing with the level, there's one more thing to fix, and that's going down slopes, which is currently very bumpy. This video has a nice explanation of how the player's horizontal movement acts before they get pulled down by gravity, and the solution is to align the direction of movement to the direction of the slope. So I followed the steps, and that resolved the problem. Well, when I copied over the code properly, that is. Can't even copy code without messing up. I don't even qualify as a programmer after that. But moving on, I built up the rest of the level, or the foundations of one, and now you can actually play from the starting door to the exit door, with targets to shoot along the way. Oh, Unity has yet another update. The next step is to spice up this game mode. Kinda tricky to make a story out of shooting red balls, so instead I'll turn this into more of a speedrun, just like your kill run. I added a timer to get that speedrun feel, which starts from the moment you enter the first door. Although for some reason, stopping and starting the timer is reversed when crouching. Not ideal, but I did manage to fix it by comparing the entry and exit points on the collider, so now that's working. Except when bullet jumping through, the timer only works 50% of the time. I landed on it. That's pretty cool. After getting bored of the door, I started trying to break the level by jumping over the wall you're not supposed to climb. 2.78 seconds if you skip the targets. A normal run might look a bit more like this. The fall was intentional, by the way. Anyways, if you follow the intended path, there's a total of 7 targets, and at the end, I put together a victory screen showing your runtime. Now, to make sure you can't skip the targets, I added a counter where all targets must have been shot before reaching the end. And for anyone wanting to shoot them all from spawn, that's also been blocked until the timer starts. I'm sure someone will find an exploit anyways. The victory screen is looking a little empty, so I added a high score for your fastest time, which I plan to have for every level. Once again, it'll actually help if I add the game object reference. That should fix it now. Somehow I got a negative time. Maybe I'm just that quick. That's what she said, and with that done, the end screen is now properly displaying your personal best. That pretty much wraps up the first level of the campaign mode. Going back to the other modes now makes the player movement feel floaty. I guess free play can be a mode where you can just chill. We all know that's just an excuse for me not remaking the whole level just to be consistent between modes. Anyways, that's all I have to say. Now if you'll excuse me, I've got some levels to create, and also need to figure out how to not make this another Colson copy. But until then, thanks for watching. Wait, what was that? Oh, just the shadow. Raid Shadow Legend.